हाय गाइस एंड वेलकम बैक टू द चैनल ऑफ दी डायसेक्टेड ट्रूथ। और आज हम पढ़ेंगे एम्ब्रियोलॉजी, डेवलपमेंट ऑफ फेरेंजियल आर्चेस एंड द डेरिवेटिव्स ऑफ फेरेंजियल आर्चेस। सो लेट अस स्टार्ट। तो सबसे पहले एज एन इंट्रोडक्शन, व्हाट आर फेरेंजियल आर्चेस? सो व्हाट हैपेंस इज इन द रीजन ऑफ आवर pharynx some arches develop, some thickenings are produced, and those are known as pharyngeal arches. पहले इसको ब्रेकियल आर्चेस भी बोलते थे, ब्रेंकियल आर्चेस, ब्रेंकियल आर्चेस, बट मोर accepted term should be pharyngeal arches. So today we are going to talk about pharyngeal arches, जो कि थिकनिंग्स हैं जो यहाँ पे बन रही हैं, as you can see. Is it okay? Should we move? Okay. So pharyngeal arches, they are the thickenings, and pharyngeal arches हमारे पास कितनी होती हैं? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 6th pharyngeal arches. That means in total we have 5 pharyngeal arches. Basically पहले क्या हुआ था? पहले 6 pharyngeal arches बनी थी, and then what happened? 5th pharyngeal arch, it degenerated. So we are left with first, second, third, fourth, sixth, not fifth, sixth pharyngeal arch. Is it okay? तो अब हम इसका स्ट्रक्चर देखते हैं, फिर हम वापस यहाँ पे आएंगे. So what do we have? If we have this diagram, can you see? This is the developing embryo. Here are the pharyngeal arches. And if we take a section from here, we will see this. तो इसमें हम क्या देख रहे हैं? अगर हम ध्यान से देखें, the outermost lining, the blue lining, is the ectodermal line. The inner lining, the yellow one, is the endodermal lining. And in between, that is given in brown, is the mesoderm. तो हमारे पास क्या क्या है? एक्टोडर्म, एंडोडर्म एंड बीच में है पूरा mesoderm. Is it okay? Mesoderm or mesenchyme you can call it. तो यहाँ पर हर एक फेरेंजियल आर्च में एक आउटर कवरिंग है, दैट इज ऑफ एक्टोडर्म, एक इनर कवरिंग है, दैट इज ऑफ एंडोडर्म, एंड बीच में जो भी पोर्शन है दैट इज मीसेनकाइमल पोर्शन और मीजोडर्मल पोर्शन, जिसमें हमारे पास होने वाला है एक आर्टीरियल कंपोनेंट. दैट मींस देयर विल बी एन एओर्टिक आर्च जो इस पेरेंजियल आर्च को सप्लाई कर रही है, दैट इज द आर्टीरियल कंपोनेंट. Then we will have a cartilage, that is the skeletal component. Then we have the nerve, a particular nerve supplying this pharyngeal arch, that is the nerve component. And along with the cartilage, there will be some muscle component or muscular component जो muscle बनाएगा. तो अभी होने क्या वाला है, हम क्या पढ़ने वाले हैं, व्हाट इज हैपनिंग? फेरेंजियल आर्च एक स्ट्रक्चर है जो हमारे फेरेंजियल रीजन में डेवलप करता है, एंड ये कुछ आगे स्ट्रक्चर्स बनाएगा. इट विल लीड टू फॉर्मेशन ऑफ सम बोन्स, सम मसल्स, एंड इट हैज इट्स ओन नर्व सप्लाई एंड arterial supply. That's what we are going to talk about. So now I want to go back to the introductory portion जो यहाँ पे लिखा है, जिसमें तुम देख सकते हो यहाँ पे लिखा है मीजेनकाइम फॉर द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ हेड रीजन. तो जो मीजोडर्मल पोर्शन है या मीजेनकाइमल पोर्शन है वो कहाँ से आ रहा है? आइदर इट इज कमिंग फ्रॉम पैराएक्सियल मीजोडर्म. इफ यू रिमेम्बर पैराएक्सियल मीजोडर्म जो बन रहा था जिसके 3 कंपोनेंट्स थे, राइट? The somites and somatomeres, जिसके 3 कंपोनेंट्स थे, डर्माटोम, मायोटोम और स्क्लेरोटोम. If you don't remember that, you should go back to the division of mesoderm lecture, and you can see that. But because we are already aware of these things, तो मैं आगे चल रही हूँ. We have paraxial mesoderm, we have lateral plate mesoderm, and sometimes the mesenchyme is also derived from neural crest cells and the placodes that are formed in this region. So let me tell you, placodes का मतलब है ectodermal thickenings. We have two types of placodes, three basically, but one is the optic placode going to make the eye. We have otic placode for development of ear, and we also have nasal placodes. So we have some placodes that are developing in this region, and क्योंकि हम head and neck की development की बात कर रहे हैं, so obviously this region, and they will also help in formation of some mesenchyme. Is it okay? So we already know somites and somatomeres, इनके derivatives होते हैं, and they will form a large component of the membranous and cartilaginous component of the skull. The neurocranium, I'll tell you, abhi aayega. The neurocranium, all the voluntary muscles of craniofacial region, the dermis and connective tissue in the dorsal region of head, and the meninges, caudal to prosencephalon. Meninges, caudal to prosencephalon. When we will talk about CNS development, हम ये देखेंगे कि हमारे पास CNS डेवलपमेंट में न्यूरल ट्यूब जो होती है वो कुछ पार्ट्स में डिवाइड करती है, दैट इज प्रोजेंसेफेलॉन, मेसेंसेफेलॉन एंड रोम्बेनसेफेलॉन. अभी के लिए इतना है. तो प्रोजेंसेफेलॉन के कॉर्डली, मतलब प्रोजेंसेफेलॉन के बाद जो रीजन्स हैं मेसेंसेफेलॉन एंड रोम्बेनसेफेलॉन, इनके अराउंड जो meninges बनेंगी, that will be formed by paraxial mesoderm. Is it okay? ठीक है. mesodermal components की अभी बात हो रही है, mesenchyme की बात. Then we will have lateral plate mesoderm that will be helping in formation of the cartilages, the larynx cartilages, laryngeal cartilages like arytenoid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, and also the connective tissue of this region. That will be formed by lateral plate mesoderm. Is it okay? Then neural crest cells, this is the most important thing you should remember. होता ये है कि न्यूरल क्रेस्ट सेल्स जो माइग्रेट करते हैं, दे ऑल्सो एंटर द फेरेंजियल आर्चेज एंड दे ऑल्सो लीड टू फॉर्मेशन ऑफ mesenchyme, and they will also contribute to development of some structures. So what are neural crest cells? ये हम पहले पढ़ चुके हैं, but I'll still tell you. What happens is the ectoderm, it folds to form the neural tube. So first of all what happens, जब ये fold हो रहा होता है, ectoderm की दो edges हैं, एक ये इस साइड वाली edge और एक इस साइड वाली. So these two edges when they are coming together, like coming closer to each other, ताकि वो ऊपर से ऐसे बंद हो जाए एंड एक पूरा एक ट्यूब बन जाए, तो उसके बंद होने से पहले ये जो पूरा एज है, ये जो रिज है, यहां से कुछ एक्टोडर्मल सेल्स यहां से माइग्रेट करते हैं और दूसरी दूसरी जगहों पे पहुंचते हैं ताकि वो कुछ और स्ट्रक्चर्स के डेवलपमेंट में हेल्प कर सकें. Those cells are known as neural crest cells. तो अभी तुम देखोगे यहाँ पे भी न्यूरल क्रेस्ट सेल्स हेल्प करेंगे कुछ स्ट्रक्चर्स की फॉर्मेशन में, एंड दे विल आल्सो कंट्रीब्यूट टू mesenchymal पोर्शन ऑफ द pharyngeal arches. If this is clear, we should move forward. And you can see right here, यहाँ पे लिखा है, the neural crest cells originating from neuroectoderm of forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain regions, they migrate ventrally into pharyngeal arches and rostrally around the forebrain into the facial region, and obviously they will help in formation of entire viscerocranium. What is this? All the bones of face and particular bones of the cranium. So viscerocranium. Is it okay? I'll show you. Parts of membranous and cartilaginous regions of neurocranium, that is the skull. All the other tissues of this region, including cartilage, bone, dentine, tendon, dermis, pia mater, arachnoid matter, and all of that. So let me show you. This is the particular diagram that you should keep in mind, because all the blue thingies are developing from neural crest cells. Like these are the derivatives of neural crest cells. Is it okay? बाकी जो somites and somatomeres हैं, they will help in formation of these red thingies. And the yellow thing, that is the laryngeal cartilage and everything, they are developing from lateral plate mesoderm. But I'll also like to add on कि ये जो mesoderm है, ये pharyngeal arch का ही है। वो pharyngeal arch का ही mesoderm है जिसको हम यहाँ पे कंसिडर कर रहे हैं, जो येलो में दिया हो, because fourth and sixth pharyngeal arch will help in formation of the cartilages of larynx. अभी आएगी. So सबसे पहले all the bones of face, some bones of cranium, sphenoid, and squamous part of temporal bone. Only squamous part of temporal bone, because petrous part of temporal bone is a derivative of somite and somatomes. Is it good? Are we learning something? Should we move forward? Let's go. So there was a line जो लिखी थी जिसमें ये लिखा था कि न्यूरल क्रेस्ट सेल्स न्यूरोएक्टोडर्म से माइग्रेट करेंगे एंड दे विल कम टू मेक सम पोर्शन ऑफ द फेस as well as the pharyngeal arches. As you can see कि जो न्यूरल क्रेस्ट सेल्स हैं वो pharyngeal arches में माइग्रेट कर रहे हैं, and they are also migrating in the facial region because they will help in formation of face structures, including the bones and all the other related structures like cartilages, dentine, tendon, connective tissue, everything. Is it okay? So let's move forward and we are going to talk about the pharyngeal arches, जिसका एक internal diagram हम पहले ही देख चुके हैं. This was the same diagram given here. So हमने देखा कि एक pharyngeal arch में अपना खुद का arterial component, nerve component, cartilage और एक muscular component भी होता है. Also, on the outer side, we have ectodermal lining. On the inner side, we have endodermal lining. So this is the internal structure of a pharyngeal arch. This is a pharyngeal arch that is developing in the pharyngeal region. And it will lead to formation of some structures that we are going to talk about right now, the derivatives of pharyngeal arches. But before that, you can look at this diagram also. This is a diagram in which we are looking at the embryo from this front view. We are looking like this. तो तुम देख सकते हो यहाँ पे एक prominence develop होती है. That is the frontonasal prominence. We will talk about it when we will talk about the development of face. So there is a frontonasal prominence. We have stomodium, the buccopharyngeal membrane, oropharyngeal membrane, that is initially closed, but later on it opens. That will be the communication from the outside to the inside. ये जो mouth opening है, that is the stomodeum. Then you can see the mandibular arch that will develop from first pharyngeal arch. You will see for yourself. तो जो फर्स्ट फेरेंजियल आर्च है वो खुद मैंडिबल में डेवलप करती है, ऑल्सो इसका ही कुछ पोर्शन मैक्सिला में भी डेवलप करता है. फर्स्ट फेरेंजियल आर्च इटसेल्फ will develop into the mandible as well as maxilla. So you can see mandibular arch, you can see maxillary prominence, you can also see just below the mandibular arch there are pharyngeal arches 2 and 3 जो कि अभी डेवलप हो रही हैं. Then we will have 4, 5 and 6. Fifth one will disappear. So we will be left with 4 and 6. Is it good? You can see this image also. That is the electron micrographic image. Here we can also see nasal placodes, maxilla, mandible, second arch. Is it okay? Stomodeum. Fine. So this is the developing embryo और उसके हम अभी continuous pictures देख रहे हैं. So now we will move forward and we will see very important thing that there is particular nerve supplying a particular pharyngeal arch. Right now you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4th and 6th pharyngeal arch that is still developing. So you can see for first pharyngeal arch a nerve that is 5th cranial nerve, trigeminal nerve और उसके 3 divisions में से एक division that is the mandibular nerve is supplying the first pharyngeal arch. So first pharyngeal arch is supplied by mandibular nerve. Now, if you already have the knowledge of each of these nerves and the structures supplied by these nerves, you will be able to answer the derivatives of first pharyngeal arch. तुम खुद देखो, यहां पर फर्स्ट फेरेंजियल आर्च को मैंडिबुलर नर्व सप्लाई कर रही. अब ऑब्वियस सी बात है फर्स्ट फेरेंजियल आर्च से वही स्ट्रक्चर्स डेवलप होंगे that are already supplied by mandibular nerve. If you know those structures, the muscles supplied by first pharyngeal, this mandibular nerve, all the structures supplied by mandibular nerve, you can easily answer the derivatives of first pharyngeal arch. Same goes with all the other arches. I'll show you. So you can see for first pharyngeal arch, nerve supply is mandibular nerve, which is a division of trigeminal nerve. For second pharyngeal arch, we have 7th cranial nerve, that is facial nerve. For third pharyngeal arch, we have 9th cranial nerve, that is glossopharyngeal nerve. And for the 4th and 6th as well, both the pharyngeal arches are supplied by branches of 10th cranial nerve, that is vagus nerve. Are we done with this diagram? Because I think just इसके बाद हमें पढ़ने हैं derivatives of pharyngeal arches. कौन सी pharyngeal arch से क्या क्या structures develop होंगे. And we already know कि हमारे पास 2 components थे. We had a cartilaginous component जिससे कुछ bony structures develop हो सकते हैं. And we had muscular component जिससे muscles develop हो सकते हैं. Now we already know that mandibular nerve is supplying all the muscles of mastication. So you can see the muscles of mastication, temporalis muscle, masseter, medial and lateral pterygoid. Other than that, we know mylohyoid muscle is also supplied by mandibular nerve by a nerve that is given by inferior alveolar nerve before entering the mandibular foramen. जब यहाँ पे इंफीरियर एल्वियुलर नर्व मैंडिबुलर फोरामेन में एंटर करती है, उससे पहले ही एक नर्व देती है, दैट इज नर्व टू माइलोहायोइड, that is supplying the mylohyoid muscle as well as anterior belly of digastric. Also, not to forget about a direct branch of the mandibular nerve, the trunk, that is the nerve to medial pterygoid, जो अपने रास्ते में आते हुए इन दो मसल्स को सप्लाई करते हुए आ रही है. एंड दीज मसल्स आर टेंसर पैलेटिनी मसल एंड टेंसर टिम्पैनी मसल. If you don't remember this, you can also watch a different lecture, a separate lecture that is on trigeminal nerve and all the three branches of that. And that is present in playlist of head and neck. You can watch that. Let's move forward. Muscles are done for first pharyngeal arch. You can see the skeletal components, obviously premaxilla, the maxilla. Premaxilla and the maxilla, the maxillary bone as well as the mandibular bone is formed by first pharyngeal arch. So you can see the maxilla, the premaxilla, zygomatic bone, part of temporal bone, Meckel's cartilage and mandible. Meckel's cartilage is a cartilage that will guide the formation of mandible. So Meckel's cartilage, and this is important. The cartilage of first pharyngeal arch is Meckel's cartilage. Is it good? We still have more. As you can see, we have three ear ossicles. We have malleus, incus, and stapes. Out of that, malleus and incus are developing from first pharyngeal arch, and stapes is developing from second pharyngeal arch. Is it okay? Is it okay? Then we can see and some ligaments, that is anterior ligament of malleus and sphenomandibular ligament. Please remember this ligament. This is important. Sphenomandibular ligament. Is it okay? Are we done with the muscles and skeletal components and everything about the first pharyngeal arch? Now we have to talk about the second pharyngeal arch. For second pharyngeal arch, the main component developing from second pharyngeal arch is the hyoid bone. Also, the cartilage of second pharyngeal arch is known as Richard's cartilage. It is known as Richard's cartilage. This pharyngeal arch is supplied by facial nerve. अब तुम सोचो all the components, muscles and everything supplied by facial nerve. Think about it. So सबसे पहले all the muscles of facial expression. All the muscles of facial expression, including buccinator, auricularis, frontalis, platysma, orbicularis oris, orbicularis oculi, posterior belly of digastric, stylohyoid muscle, and stapedius. Now, do you remember all these muscles are supplied by facial nerve? Facial nerve, when it was in the middle ear cavity, it supplied stapedius. Okay, so we are talking about the derivatives of second pharyngeal arch. So muscles हमने सारी देखी. All the muscles, all these muscles are supplied by facial nerve. Then we have to talk about skeletal components. So you can see steps. By the way, everything is started with S here. Mostly. Steps, styloid process, stylohyoid ligament, hyoid, the lesser horn and upper portion of body of hyoid, because the other part, the greater horn and lower portion of the body will be formed by third pharyngeal arch. Are these things clear for you? You can see that here from the third pharyngeal arch. Also, the nerve supplying the third pharyngeal arch is the ninth cranial nerve, that is glossopharyngeal nerve, that is supplying stylopharyngeus muscle, if you remember. Lastly, the derivatives of fourth and sixth pharyngeal arch. We have all the laryngeal muscles and cartilages. Obviously, in muscular component, we have to talk about the muscles, and in skeletal components, we will talk about the cartilages. So you can see cricothyroid, levator palatini, constrictor of pharynx, intrinsic muscles of larynx, and you must remember that all the intrinsic muscles of larynx is supplied by which nerve? Because there are two things that are written here. Please focus the 10th cranial nerve written here and the branches of 10th cranial nerve, superior laryngeal branch and recurrent laryngeal branch. Superior laryngeal branch supplying to the fourth arch and recurrent laryngeal branch supplying to the sixth arch. Is it okay? Then we have to talk about cartilaginous components, the laryngeal cartilages, thyroid, cricoid, arytenoid, corniculate, cuneiform, all the cartilages are developing from fourth and sixth pharyngeal arches. Is it done? But we are not done yet. I'll tell you why. I'll take you to the same diagram. Can you see here and here? Like there is a pharyngeal arch, then there is a depression, then there is a pharyngeal arch, then there is a depression. Like these depressions from both the sides, from the ectodermal side as well as the endodermal side, they are separating one pharyngeal arch from the other. So these depressions on the ectodermal side, they are known as pharyngeal clefts. And on the endodermal side, they are known as pharyngeal pouches. From here, we call them pharyngeal pouch. From ectodermal side, we call them pharyngeal clefts. So we have to talk about the development or derivatives of each pharyngeal pouch as well as pharyngeal cleft. So let us move on. And before that, you can see this diagram. If you remember, we just did the derivatives of first, second, third, fourth, and sixth pharyngeal arches. So right now you can see the color-coded diagram of things that are being developed from these pharyngeal arches. So you can see Meckel's cartilage, mandible, malleus incus, but not stapes, because stapes is developing from second pharyngeal arch. So these things developing from first pharyngeal arch, these blue things, upper part of body and lesser cornu of the hyoid bone, stylohyoid ligament, styloid process, stapes. These things developing from second pharyngeal arch. Then from third pharyngeal arch, it was nothing but the lower part of the body and greater cornu. And lastly, the fourth and sixth pharyngeal arches forming the laryngeal cartilages. The thyroid cartilage, cricoid, arytenoid, cuneiform, corniculate, all the cartilage. Done. So now we are coming to the pharyngeal pouches, and I will take you to a diagram to explain the very same thing. So this is the diagram I want you to notice. This is the diagram that will tell you every single thing about all these clefts and pouches, pharyngeal clefts and pharyngeal pouches. So first, we will start with the pharyngeal pouches, and then we will go on to the pharyngeal clefts. So pharyngeal pouches means कौन सा side? Endoderm या ectoderm? Endodermal side. So we are talking about the endodermal side. Talking about the first pharyngeal pouch, as you can see, it is extending into the mesenchyme. We call it a recess. We call it tubo-tympanic recess. So this is a tubo-tympanic recess. Now what happens is, as you can see, iska jo distal part hai, it is expanding, and jo iska proximal part hai, it is like a tube. So this part will develop into eustachian tube or auditory tube, because you know this thing, auditory tube connects the middle ear cavity to the pharynx, to the nasopharynx. So this area actually is pharyngeal area, the pharynx area. So obviously this should become eustachian tube. On the other hand, this expanded part will develop into middle ear cavity. So this portion is forming middle ear. This portion is forming eustachian tube or auditory tube. Then on the other hand, if I talk about the pharyngeal cleft, the first pharyngeal cleft, if you can see, it is also like going inside the mesenchyme, and this will form the external auditory meatus. मैंने ये एक साथ इसलिए बताया क्योंकि ये पूरा ईयर का पोर्शन बन रहा है. Like if you can see, this is forming the ear का पोर्शन. तो जो ये क्लेफ्ट है ये बना रहा है external auditory meatus. On the other hand, the pouch is forming here, the expanded part is forming the middle ear cavity, this part is forming the auditory tube. Also, this part right here, the ectodermal part, the endodermal part, and the mesenchymal or mesodermal part, can you see these three layers together? They will lead to formation of tympanic membrane, or you can call it eardrum. So कोई भी अगर पूछे ईयर ड्रम में कितनी लेयर्स का कंट्रीब्यूशन है, you will say 3: ectoderm, endoderm, as well as mesoderm. Are you getting it? Are you getting it? Can we move forward? So coming on to the second pharyngeal pouch, you can see the second pharyngeal pouch, it will form the tonsil, the palatine tonsil. So first it forms a bud, then it like grows into the mesenchyme, and then later on some lymphoid tissue will come here and it will become a lymphoid organ, that is the tonsil, the palatine tonsil, and this fossa will become tonsillar fossa, the space where palatine tonsil is present. Is it clear? Is it good? So second pharyngeal pouch is developing into the palatine tonsil. Now if we are done, we will move on to the next pharyngeal pouch. That is third pharyngeal pouch. And as you can see, there are two different colored things that are developing from the third pharyngeal pouch. And you can see here as well as you can see here. So there are two things that grows from the third pharyngeal pouch, and that is the parathyroid gland, this yellow portion, and the thymus. Do you remember thymus? Thymus is a gland where your T lymphocytes mature. Do you remember? So here thymus is developing as well as inferior parathyroid gland is developing. क्यों भाई? Inferior क्यों? Superior आना चाहिए था यहाँ पे. देखो, अगर तुम ध्यान से देख रहे हो तो नेक्स्ट ही फेरेंजियल पाउच जो है, द फोर्थ फेरेंजियल पाउच, यहां से भी दो कलर्ड थिंग्स तुम ग्रो करते हुए देख सकते, out of which one is superior parathyroid gland and one is ultimobrachial body. We will talk about ultimobrachial body later. First, we are talking about the parathyroid gland. And I want to know कि inferior parathyroid gland ऊपर और superior नीचे क्यों बन रहा है? And how will they come in place? अगर ये ऐसे बन भी रहे हैं तो इनको वापस अपनी नॉर्मल पोजीशन में तो जाना पड़ेगा, जो अडल्ट में पोजीशन है उसमें जाना पड़ेगा. So how are they going to do that? So now I will tell you something. So what is going to happen? Can you guess? Can you guess? So I'll tell you something. This is the area of pharyngeal arches, where the pharyngeal arches are developed. What is thymus doing here? Thymus has to go down. Thymus has to be in the thoracic cavity. So thymus will start to migrate from here. Half of the thymus is on this side, half of the thymus is on this side. They will migrate, they will go down, and they will fuse here to make a complete gland, the thymus. So as you know that this thing is going to detach from here and going to migrate downwards. Along with that, this parathyroid gland, the inferior parathyroid gland, it will take a piggyback ride on the thymus gland. So क्योंकि thymus gland नीचे की तरफ माइग्रेट कर रहा है, पैराथायरॉइड ग्लैंड जो इंफीरियर वाला पोर्शन है वो भी उसके साथ बैठेगा और माइग्रेट करना स्टार्ट कर देगा until it reaches its final position. It doesn't have to go all the way down. उसको इतनी दूर नहीं जाना है. It just have to go a little bit down. Do you get it? So it takes a piggyback ride. Taxi. Fine. So it is just taking a ride from thymus gland and it will reach its final destination. So this one will come on the lower side and this one will become on the upper side. So this will become superior parathyroid gland and this will become inferior parathyroid. Do you get this? This is very important. So we are done with the derivatives of third pharyngeal pouch as well as fourth, except for this particular thingy, that is ultimobrachial body. What is that? So let me tell you, ultimobrachial body is nothing but it will develop into C cells, parafollicular cells of thyroid gland. Now, if you remember, if you have ever read about it, ever heard about it, you must remember that C cells of thyroid gland are developing from neural crest cells. And now we are telling that C cells or parathyroid, like this, parafollicular cells are developing from fourth pharyngeal pouch. What is this confusion, mismatch? What is this? So let me tell you, ultimobrachial body that is going to give rise to parafollicular cells of thyroid gland. It also has neural crest cells in it. So some neural crest cells migrated into here. Some neural crest cells migrated into fourth pharyngeal pouch. That's why we are telling or we are saying that ultimobrachial body that is developing for fourth pharyngeal pouch has neural crest cell also, because these will develop into ultimobrachial body, or you can say parafollicular cells of thyroid gland. Is it good? Should we move forward? Because now we have to talk about all the other pharyngeal clefts. So we are done with the pouches. We are talking about the clefts. So what is happening with the cleft? Can you see the mesenchyme of second pharyngeal arch proliferated too much that it has overgrown the second, third, and fourth pharyngeal clefts, and then it will go and merge with this epicardial ridge. Here will be the cardiac area. So this is the epicardial ridge. So this, again, listen. The mesenchyme of second pharyngeal arch proliferated too much that it overgrown and has covered second, third, and fourth pharyngeal clefts. And then it will also merge, or it will join the epicardial ridge, as you can see here, and this thing will form a sinus or a cavity or something like space that is known as cervical sinus, which will later on disappear. It doesn't have any significance. इससे कुछ भी नहीं बनने वाला, कुछ derive नहीं होने वाला. It will just disappear. But ta-da! Some clinicals. So if cervical sinus persists, like अगर ये disappear नहीं हुआ, it will lead to some problems that are, we are going to clinicals first, that are this: cervical cyst or cervical fistulas. Cyst is just fluid filled thingy that looks like this, a fluid filled thing that is present in the cervical region. Is it okay? Uh, cervical fistula. Fistula. What do you mean by fistula? Fistula means it will have a through and through connection with your pharynx. Like an opening here that is going into your pharynx. That's the problem. So that are going to be the defects, clinical correlations, problems associated with cervical sinus. Is it okay? Because we are done with the derivatives of all the pharyngeal pouches and the pharyngeal clefts. Should we move forward? Is it okay? Is it okay? Should we move? Because now we have to talk about molecular regulation of facial components. Chalo. So now we will talk about molecular regulation of facial development, in which we have neural crest cells, you remember, that arise from neuroepithelial cells. You remember that? Neural crest cells are there, and they are migrating to the pharyngeal arches. So what we have is, for the establishment of neural crest cells, we need BMP, bone morphogenic protein. Then we have WNP1 signaling that will lead to migration, detachment and migration of these cells. Also, these cells, neural crest cells, are ectodermal cells. They are coming from neuroectoderm. They are epithelial cells. They will come here in the pharyngeal arches and they will become mesenchymal cells. So this is known as epithelial to mesenchymal transition. Done. ऑल्सो इफ यू रिमेम्बर, प्लीज प्लीज प्लीज, अब भी मैंने थोड़ी देर पहले बताया है कि जो न्यूरल क्रेस्ट सेल्स माइग्रेट करते हैं, तुमने पढ़ी होगी वो लाइन, उसमें लिखा था कि जो न्यूरल क्रेस्ट सेल्स माइग्रेट माइग्रेट कर रहे हैं वो फेरेंजियल आर्चेस में कर रहे हैं, एंड प्रोजेनसेफेलॉन वाले एरिया से जो न्यूरल क्रेस्ट सेल्स माइग्रेट कर रहे हैं वो फेशियल कंपोनेंट बनाने के लिए माइग्रेट कर रहे हैं, वो फेरेंजियल आर्चेस में नहीं आ रहे। दिस इज द मेन पॉइंट। नाउ लिसन, hind brain is divided into some segments called rhabdomeres. As you can see here, this is the forebrain, and please look, the prosencephalon, जो forebrain वाला part है, वहां से जो neural crest cells migrate कर रहे हैं, they are coming for facial comp from hind brain. In hind brain, we have rhabdomeres, R1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. From here, from these segments, neural crest cells will like migrate into different pharyngeal arches. You can see here. Look carefully. This is the portion of midbrain, right here. This is the portion of midbrain. This is the portion of forebrain. This is the portion of hindbrain. So from the portion of hindbrain, R1 and R2, and half of the midbrain, or you can say caudal part of the midbrain, from here the neural crest cells are migrating into first pharyngeal arch. Third one, not significant. From the fourth rhabdomere, R4, the neural crest cells are migrating into second pharyngeal arch. And fifth is also not significant. Then 6, 7, yeah, only 6 and 7. 8 is also not significant. So from R6, R7, the neural crest cells are migrating into the third, fourth, and fifth, sixth pharyngeal arches. Also, लेट मी टेल यू, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता कि R3 और R5 से कोई कंट्रीब्यूशन नहीं आता है। द पॉइंट इज कि R3 और R5 से जो स्ट्रीम्स आ रही हैं, streams of neural crest cells, they just join the adjacent streams. Like यहां से जो न्यूरल क्रेस्ट सेल्स आ रहे होंगे वो इसी स्ट्रीम में मिल गए, यहां से भी ऐसे हो गया। that can be seen here. You can see this right here. Can you see? देखो R3 वाले जो न्यूरल क्रेस्ट सेल्स थे, they joined the adjacent streams. Same happened with the R5. Is it okay? Is it okay? So these streams guide the nerve fibers, the axons from the ganglia also, to reach their respective pharyngeal arches. Like if you remember this diagram, we have seen this diagram initially. So as you can see, the axons have to reach their particular pharyngeal arches that will also be guided by these rhabdomere, like from the rhabdomeres, whatever neural crest cell streams are coming, those streams are guiding the axons to reach their respective pharyngeal arches. Is it okay? Should we move forward? Also, we have some more things to talk about. So as you can see, what we have in pharyngeal pouches, we have some this components. देखो ये pharyngeal pouch वाला region है. So anteriorly we have FGF8 given in red. Posteriorly we have BMP7 given in blue, and dorsally we have PAX1 given in orange. Other than that, for pharyngeal pouch second and third, we have an extra component, the yellow one, that is the sonic hedgehog gene. Is it okay? सो व्हाट इज हैपनिंग है, ये क्यों पढ़ रहे हैं हम, क्या है ये? मैं बता दूं, यहाँ पे कुछ कंपोनेंट्स हैं, कुछ फैक्टर्स हैं. These factors are expressed or they are present. If they are proteins, they are present in the pharyngeal pouches. Why are they present? They are going to regulate differentiation and patterning of pharyngeal arch mesenchyme. मतलब ये अपने ही pharyngeal arch के mesenchyme को बताएंगे कि तुम क्या बनोगे. ठीक है, ये बताते हैं mesenchyme को कि तुम्हें क्या बनाना है, तुम्हें किस चीज में डेवलप होना है, तुम कौन सा स्केलेटल कंपोनेंट बनाओ. फाइन. ऑल्सो दिस इज responded by some other thingies that are already present in the mesenchyme. Like mesenchyme will respond to these signals. So there are already some things present, some factors present in the mesenchyme itself. So what are these factors? You can see OTX2 that is present in first arch, HOXA2 present in second arch, HOXA3, B3, D3 present in third and fourth arch. Please remember these things that कुछ तो एक्सटर्नल फैक्टर्स हैं जो पाउच में प्रेजेंट है, फेरेंजियल पाउच में. वो जाके सिग्नल कर रहे हैं मीजनकाइम को कि तुम्हें क्या बनाना है. लेकिन ऐसा थोड़ी है कि वो सुनेगा बना देगा. मीजनकाइम का अपना भी दिमाग है, मीजनकाइम के पास अपने भी फैक्टर्स हैं. तो वो फैक्टर्स और ये फैक्टर्स आपस में इंटरैक्ट करेंगे एंड देन दे विल डिसाइड कि क्या बनाना है, कौन सा कंपोनेंट बनाना. डू यू गेट दिस? कैन वी मूव फॉरवर्ड? So as you can see, it is written here, neural crest cells carry some Hox genes which tells the arches what should they become. So same genes. In the first arch, we don't have any Hox gene, we only have OTX2. Second arch, we have HOXA2. Third and sixth arch, we have HOXA3, B3, D3. जो अभी हमने देखा है, जस्ट अभी देखा है. तो ये सब फैक्टर्स होते हैं जो आपस में इंटरैक्ट करते हैं और डिसाइड करते हैं कौन सी फेरेंजियल आर्च क्या चीज बनाएगी, क्या उसके डेरिवेटिव्स हो. लाइक इफ यू आर ओके विद दिस वी कैन मूव फॉरवर्ड टू द क्लिनिकल कोरिलेशंस. बट अभी इसके बाद भी अभी बहुत कुछ है, ऐसा मत समझना कि ये तो हो गया. ये we still have tongue development and thyroid development, which is very easy. It will just take 2 to 3 minutes each. So first of all, the birth defects, ectopic thymic and parathyroid tissue, क्योंकि thymus और parathyroid माइग्रेट करता है, तो वो हो सकता है वो अपने रास्ते में कहीं ना कहीं उसके कुछ टिश्यू कंपोनेंट्स रुक जाएं वहीं पे, एंड दे विल फॉर्म एक्टोपिक थाइमिक एंड पैराथायरॉइड टिश्यू. मतलब जहां थाइमस आना चाहिए था वहां पे भी है, और उसके अलावा छोटे मोटे कंपोनेंट्स और उसके जो माइग्रेटरी रास्ता था, पाथ था, वहां पे भी रह गए. ठीक है. देन वी हैव ऑलरेडी डन दिस थिंग, ब्रेंकियल फिस्टुला, सर्वाइकल फिस्टुला, cyst and all. Then we have internal branchial fistula, same thing. And इसमें क्या होता है, there is this cervical sinus which is connected to the lumen of pharynx that I already told you, through and through connection. Okay. Then we have some neural crest cell and craniofacial defects. तो हमें पता है कि न्यूरल क्रेस्ट सेल्स न्यूरोएक्टोडर्म से डिटैच होते हैं, माइग्रेट करते हैं, दूसरी दूसरी जगह जाते हैं और बहुत सारे कंपोनेंट्स बना. तो अगर यहाँ पर न्यूरल क्रेस्ट सेल के माइग्रेशन में पहुंचने में कुछ भी दिक्कत होती है, तो जो कंपोनेंट्स वो बनाते हैं, जो स्ट्रक्चर्स वो बनाते हैं, वो नहीं बना पाएंगे और इट विल लीड टू अ प्रॉब्लम. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, तुम्हें पता है कि जब हम हार्ट डेवलपमेंट कर रहे थे तो जो पल्मोनरी आर्टरी और एओर्टा होता है उसके बीच का सेपरेशन बनता है, न्यूरल क्रेस्ट सेल के कुछ कंपोनेंट्स वहां पहुंचते हैं. नहीं पहुंच पाए तो नहीं बनेगा. तो देयर विल बी सम हार्ट डिफेक्ट्स. डू यू गेट इट? heart abnormalities, cardiac abnormalities, including persistent truncus arteriosus, tetralogy of Fowler, transposition of great vessels. These things we have already discussed in heart development and CVS development, cardiovascular development. ये हमने पहले कर लिया. We are not going into details of this. Let's move forward. We have Treacher-Collins syndrome, that is the mandibulofacial dysostosis. मैंडिबल का फॉर्मेशन ही नहीं हो रहा है. हो सकता है कोई और बोन का भी फॉर्मेशन ना हो रहा हो. क्या क्या हो सकता है इसमें? मेलर हाइपोप्लेजिया, अंडर डेवलपमेंट ऑफ जाइगोमेटिक बोन, मैंडिबुलर हाइपोप्लेजिया, मैंडिबल नहीं ढंग से बन रहा है, बहुत छोटा मैंडिबल होगा. आई विल शो यू अ डायग्राम. नहीं है यहाँ पे. ट्रेचर कॉलिन का तो नहीं है, बट ठीक है. यू कैन इमेजिन ऐसा ही जैसे इसका मैंडिबल नहीं ठीक से डेवलप हुआ. सिमिलरली देयर विल बी प्रॉब्लम इन मैंडिबुलर डेवलपमेंट, zygomatic bone, also down slanting of palpebral fissures, ऐसे नीचे की तरफ slanting, lower eyelid colobomas. By the way, eyelid coloboma means eyelid ठीक से पूरी बनी नहीं है, there is a cleft in between, but it is saying lower eyelid coloboma. So I should have made this diagram like this. Is it okay? This is eyelid coloboma, lower eyelid coloboma. Fine. What are the other problems? This syndrome is caused because of mutation in TCOF1 gene. This gene is making this protein, triacal protein, that is involved in neural cell differentiation. Neural cells, neural crest cells, differentiating and forming other structures. The gene is not there, they will not differentiate, things will go wrong. Okay, so this is autosomal dominant trait. Let's move on. The next problem, we have Robin sequence. There is a diagram also for Robin sequence. Again, it is associated with hypoplasia, mandibular hypoplasia. So you can see it, either it occurs independently or it is occurring in association with other syndromes like Treacher-Collins syndrome. हो सकता है ये अकेले हो सकता है किसी और सिंड्रोम के साथ एसोसिएटेड हो. What is happening? Robin sequence alters first arch structures. तुम्हें ये तो तभी समझ में आएगा जब तुम्हें फर्स्ट आर्च स्ट्रक्चर्स पता हो. सो यू ऑलरेडी नो फर्स्ट आर्च से क्या क्या डिराइव होता है, तो वही सारी चीजें अफेक्ट हो. And there is a triad of microgenetia, 3 problems occurring together. Cleft palate, there will be a cleft in the palate. Glossoaptosis, like underdevelopment of the tongue, posteriorly placed tongue. And microgenetia, small jaw. Micro means small, genetia means jaw. If that is okay, we'll move forward. You're almost at the end. I know. Next is 22q11.2 deletion syndrome. That means there is a deletion of a gene at the long arm of 22nd chromosome. What is happening? This syndrome has several presentations. It can be present and as different things. हो सकता है it is Di-George syndrome, Di-George anomaly, velocardiofacial syndrome, phonotruncal anomaly face syndrome, Prinzin syndrome. ठीक है, खुद प्रोनाउंस करो. Congenital thymic aplasia and hypoplasia. Like all these different presentations of this deletion. It happens to 1 out of 4,000 births. What is happening? Characterized by malformations and degrees of severity. बहुत सारी चीजें हो सकती हैं, बहुत अलग अलग लेवल पे हो सकती हैं. So, congenital heart defects, mild facial dysmorphology, learning disabilities, frequent infections due to thymus hypoplasia. Thymus नहीं बन रहा है. Thymus is your gland providing you immunity. T cells जब mature होते हैं वहां पे. Got it? Is it good? So why is this happening? It is happening because of defect. This defect is due to disruption of neural crest cells that contribute to all these affected structures. जो भी ये structures हमने पढ़े, thymus and everything, इन सबका जो contribution है neural crest cells से है और उसका ही problem. Disruption of neural crest cells. We have two diagrams for digeorge. You can see here and here. Is it okay? Like maybe तुम्हें ये pictures normal लग रही हैं, but ये है नहीं. You have small mouth here, small mouth here. Okay, there will be problems. And then we have this oculo-auriculo-vertebral spectrum golden hour syndrome. Auricular, look at the auricle. Vertebral column, there will be a problem with vertebral column, maybe spina bifida, maybe fused vertebrae, maybe hemivertebrae. Half of the vertebrae is developed. Some eye disorder, some tumors in the eye. The oculo, eye, tumor, maybe some tumors in the eye. Auriculo, you have seen the auricle of this baby. It's not developing nicely. Vertebral defect, some spina bifida, some fused vertebrae, hemivertebrae, or something like that. This is happening in this spectrum, in this syndrome. And now we are done with the clinicals also. We have to talk about development of tongue. Should I make a separate video on this? What should I do? If I make a separate video for tongue, then I have to make a separate video for thyroid. Not gonna happen. Let's do in this only. Let's talk about it. So for the development of tongue, we have a simple diagram that is given here. What happens is, though lingual swellings, lateral lingual swellings too, they develop from the first pharyngeal arch, as you can see. And one more thing develops from the first pharyngeal arch, that is known as tuberculum impar. This is happening at the 4th week of embryo development. So from the first pharyngeal arch, two lateral swellings, lateral lingual swellings, and tuberculum impar is developing. Then from the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th pharyngeal arch, this rounded structure known as copula is developing. Then you can see this epiglottic swelling that is developing from 4th pharyngeal arch, obviously. After that, you can see there is this laryngeal opening, laryngeal orifice, and these things that are known as arytenoid swellings because they will develop into arytenoid cartilage. So what will happen? How is the tongue developing? Nothing. Lateral lingual swellings, they overgrow the tuberculum impar. Tuberculum impar का जो भी size है, that will remain like almost same, and the lateral lingual swellings are going to overgrow it. बहुत ज़्यादा grow हो जाएंगे. So this will form the anterior 2/3 of the tongue. And obviously, because anterior 2/3 of the tongue is developing from from first pharyngeal arch. That's why the general sensations from the first anterior two-third of the tongue will be taken by lingual nerve. That is a branch of mandibular nerve. Is it okay? Because then you can see the posterior one-third of the tongue developing from this copula. By the way, I also want to tell you that this third pharyngeal arch will overgrow the second pharyngeal arch. If you can see the third pharyngeal arch overgrowing and making most of the area of the posterior one-third of the tongue. And some of the area is also formed by fourth arch. That's why general sensations from posterior one-third of the tongue is carried by ninth cranial nerve, glossopharyngeal, and the posterior most part of the tongue. It is carried by 10th cranial. Look at the derivatives. All connected. All connected. Is it good? So what happens is the copula, the third arch, the component of third arch overgrows the second arch. Fine. It's all done. Should we move forward? Okay. Because we will talk about thyroid gland. Next, we need to know this foramen, this opening known as foramen cecum, that is present between tuberculum impar and copula. Can you see? Can you see? Foramen. Foramen cecum that is present between the tuberculum impar and the copula. From this foramen cecum, there will be some epithelial proliferation. And this epithelial proliferation will migrate here because thyroid is present in the neck region. Got it? So we will talk about it. I just wanted to show you foramen cecum. Let's move on. You can see everything that is written. Also, you already know the anterior two-third and posterior one-third of the tongue is separated by a sulcus terminalis or terminal sulcus. Fine? Is it okay? See, it is also written the fact that sensory innervation of this part, the posterior one, is coming from cranial nerve 9, indicates the tissue of third arch will overgrow the second arch. An extremely posterior part of the tongue and epiglottis supplied by 10th cranial nerve, superior laryngeal nerve, like a branch of 10th cranial nerve. Okay. Then we have the anomalies of tongue, macroglossia, that means बहुत ज़्यादा बड़ी tongue, microglossia, छोटी tongue, aglossia, absence of tongue, ankyloglossia, very important. Ankyloglossia is tongue tie, as you can see here. This frenulum of the tongue बहुत आगे तक है और tongue की movement को ये रोकेगा. So this is tongue tie. It is treatable. इसको कट कर देते हैं and it is treatable. It is not a big deal. Okay. Now let us come back to the thyroid gland develop. We have to talk about it in detail. It's nothing. It's nothing. I already told you epithelial proliferation होगा at the floor of pharynx between the tuberculum impar and copula जहां पे foramen cecum था. वहां से जो ये tissue है, it will start to migrate like this. It will migrate in front of the pharynx, in front of the larynx, in front of the hyoid bone. It is going like this, then it is going below the hyoid bone, and then it is reaching its final position. Please look at it. This is simple, the migration of thyroid gland. As you can see, it has become a bilobed diverticulum and then it is migrating. And during the migration, it is still connected to this part of the tongue by a duct known as thyroglossal duct. I'll show you a different diagram. As you can see here, this duct, it is still connected through this duct. So this duct is thyroglossal duct. Later on, it disappears. Thyroid gland reaches its final position, and it reaches its final position in 7th week and starts working. It starts functioning at the end of 3rd month. This is very important. This is very important because the hormones of thyroid gland helps in mental development, physical development, like growth. So what is the clinical relation? Nothing but the thyroglossal duct, because it had to disappear. If it doesn't, the thyroglossal cyst, and thyroglossal cyst can be formed in any place in the path of the migration. Either it can form here, 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 here. These are all thyroglossal cysts. They will form in any place in the path of migration of thyroid gland. So this is known as thyroglossal cyst. Also, thyroglossal fistula can develop. Fistula means through and through, like communication from the outside. Do you get it? So that is the problem. You can see thyroglossal cyst here. And that's it. That's it. Pharyngeal arches, pharyngeal, all the thingies about pharyngeal arches is done. That was a lot. That was a lot. I'm sorry, I'm not making the syllabus. So we are done with everything. We will talk about more in next lecture. That will be development of face. Till then, you can go revise, have fun. Bye bye, take care. We'll meet again with another lecture.